Is Steph Curry in the GOAT conversation? UMG is gonna move for a dismissal. Juju is offensively gifted. How many young people's lives were ruined because of this specific genre of music? Welcome to episode 1 of The Chat, and my name is Roebuck, and depending on where you know me from, you might call me Jay or you might call me Bucks, but whatever name you know me by, I'm here to bring you the hottest topics, the best information in a non-biased way. And you might ask, why am I calling this The Chat if it's just me? Because I'm bringing you the best conversations from this phone. We're going to talk about sports, we're going to talk about hip-hop, we're going to talk about pop culture, we're going to talk about all the things that has your phone blowing up. So I'll be bringing you my friends' opinions, my family's opinions, and of course, I'm going to give you my take whether you like it or not. So let's get started, and we're going to talk about the NBA. And let's get started with the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. The Celtics are the most dominant team in the NBA. I know people want to say the Thunder because of the record, but the reason is that the Celtics are already champions. They can go into any game and know what they're walking into. They can go into any playoff series and know what they're walking into. And they have so much talent that sometimes it feels like they're asleep at the wheel because it is a little bit easier for them. Their sixth man, Peyton Pritchard, could be a starting point guard in the NBA because he's instant offense off the bench. And the only flaw that I see in this team is that they shoot too many threes. Oftentimes, you're going to see them take 20, 30, or even 40 threes per game. And what that does is it kind of breaks the rhythm of the offense. But if they are hot, there is no team that could keep up with him. Another thing that worries me is health and availability. When you have Porzingis, who is frequently out and who even misses whole playoff series, and then you're dependent on Al Horford, who is over 35 years old, to defend the other team's front court player, that could be a little bit shaky. Horford was able to do it against the Lakers. He was able to do it in the finals last year, but I don't know if you really want to put all the eggs in the basket of Al Horford. He's an all-time great player, great college player, great NBA player, and he's been reliable. But at his age, I don't know if you want to put your wagon hitched to him. So they got to really work on their front court depth and health. And the last thing I want to talk about with this team is Jason Tatum. Everyone's favorite player to hate and everyone's favorite player that they want to call corny. But I'm not here to do that. Jason Tatum deserves major love because he is an all-time great player. And you might say it's early, but let's go through his resume. 7 years in the NBA, 6-time All-Star. He is already an NBA champion. He's been an All-Star MVP. He's been an Eastern Conference MVP. And although he doesn't have the Finals MVP, he is definitely going to get back there, and I'm sure that he will get one or more by the end of his career. Jason Tatum hates one thing, and the one thing that he hates is to be compared to Luka Doncic, because he feels that he's as good as Luka, or even better. But somehow he doesn't get the recognition that Luka gets. He has the resume that matches up. He's already run the ring, so why is it that we are so hesitant to show this guy love? And that's the problem with people and sports fans. Sometimes it's a lot more fun to hate than it is to love. So I'm here to give my props to Jason Tatum and to the Boston Celtics. I think they're going to make a deep run in the East. I hope that the Knicks could get healthy and maybe make it there for the city. But right now, Boston seems like, the top team in the East. And there's another team that can challenge them, but we'll get to them in a minute. Now, what's happening in Detroit? See, Shaq doesn't watch the Pistons, and that's okay, because I've been tuned in. And the Pistons look amazing. They went from a team that was at the bottom of the league last year, and now they're going to be in the playoffs. And I want to give a shout out to JB Bickerstaff, because a lot of times we don't get to show the coach love. We talk about what the players do, but when you have a coach who comes there and establishes culture and has young guys ready to play for him, you have to acknowledge it. And sometimes we forget to do that, especially for black head coaches. Now, he has the Pistons at about a 37-31, and we're already past the midpoint of the season, and he changed the whole culture. You got Cade Cunningham over there. You got a 6'7" point guard who exploits matchups every single night. He doesn't have to speed up the game. He plays at his own pace. And that is one of the most important things that you want from your point guard. Someone who can dictate the game and slow it down in crunch time. So I'm more than excited to watch Detroit play. It's been a very long time since they've had a good team. And it's just good for basketball when Detroit has good sports teams. And while I'm on the topic of Shaq not watching, All week on Twitter, I see people complaining. Get the TNT crew off. They don't watch basketball. They're bad for the brand. So what? You have options. If you don't want to watch Shaq and you don't want to watch Chuck, then don't watch them. If you want to hear more of an exo analysis and more in-depth about just the game, here are some people you could watch. You could watch Tim Legler. He's always talking about the game, weekly on YouTube and sometimes nightly. You could watch Thinking Basketball on YouTube. He can give you in-depth analysis. You could watch John Wall on NBA TV, or you could watch Jason LT with The Volume. So if you don't want to listen to these guys, you don't have to. So what sense does it make to keep complaining about it? These guys are here for two things. Number one is entertainment, and number two is the experience to talk basketball. And that's what they're good at. You can watch that show and just laugh. If you want to nerd out over the game, then go to the different outlets and stop crying. My favorite team to talk about, the Golden State Warriors. And I'm going to say this very boldly. If the Golden State Warriors are healthy, they are going to win the 2025 NBA championship. And here's the reason why. Let's look at Steph Curry. Just turned 37 years old. And since Jimmy Butler has arrived, he's averaging over 30 points per game. Okay? 30 points per game at the age of 37. And let me tell you this. Whenever Steph Curry has a healthy roster that plays every single game in a series, in the past decade, they have only lost one time, and that was to the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round. In a decade, with a healthy team, Steph Curry has only lost one time. Jimmy Butler has made all the difference for this team, defensively, offensively, and for the team's morale. You can watch them and see that they're energized. You can watch them and see that Steph is excited to play the game again. And you can even hear them if you listen to what Draymond's been saying lately on his podcast, if you see what he's saying in the media, that he believes this team can win a championship. And when you have Hall of Fame players who believe, and you have young guys who can play their role, that is a team that you don't want to face. OKC does not want to see the Warriors in the playoffs because they're proven. Houston doesn't want to see the Warriors in the playoffs. Memphis, no shot. They don't want to see that guy wearing number 30 because anytime Houston or Memphis has matched up against him, they've lost. Houston has lost for a decade. Memphis, a lot of talk, but not a lot of wins. My one worry about the Warriors is Jonathan Kuminga. And the worry isn't about talent. The worry is about, can he come in and play a role? You might not have to score 25 points a night. Maybe you need to score 12 points and get 8 rebounds. Or get 12 points and get 8 assists. Or get 12 points and get 4 steals and 3 blocks. You have the best offensive player in the game. Your job should be do what you need to do nightly to win. That might be guarding the other team's best player, so Draymond can play free safety and Jimmy can lock up the second best player. That might be just running the lane and finishing at the rim. That might be backdoor cuts. We know that you have all-star talent. But what makes a great NBA player is doing what the team needs to win. And that's what Warriors basketball is all about. Can you be selfless to help your team? And if they can get those things done, and if they can stay healthy, the Golden State Warriors are going to be the champions in 2025. The Los Angeles Lakers, they did it again. Somehow LA always seems to get the guy. They stole Luka. It wasn't a trade. That was robbery. Friendly robbery. So you got LeBron and you got Luka, two of maybe the top 5 players in the league. Both of them offensive geniuses. They can orchestrate the game and they can close better than anybody. They can play fast. It looks a little bit like Showtime, the way Luka's throwing outlets to LeBron. They can play slow. They can play isolation. And with Austin Reeves, they can move the ball where he can be the ball handler. You have Luka spotting up as a shooter, and then you have LeBron cut into the rim. That sounds a bit unstoppable. They really have like the storyline of they can make magic happen. They get the in-season edition. LeBron might be done after next year, and maybe he wins a ring and rides off into the sunset with number 5. They have a new young coach who reminds me a little bit of like kind of what Pat Riley did. He's holding veteran players accountable, which is something that Darvin Ham struggled with. My only worries are health and front court defense. They don't have a center who can stay on the court without fouling. They have an athletic center who can sometimes finish at the rim because Luka makes it easy. But when it comes down to the playoffs, can he guard Jokic? I don't think so. Is he going to be able to guard Chet Holmgren? I don't think so. So what the Lakers really need to do is learn how to play defense. And that's what they've done very well since the All-Star break. And all the credit goes to JJ Redick for his defensive schemes. So if they stay healthy, and if they stay together, and if they can play defense, that's a team that nobody wants to play because they have LeBron. They have Luka. Nobody really wants to see those guys. And now the hometown team, the New York Knickerbockers. I don't even think this is that controversial to say. It's time to fire Tibbs because his play style does not work. You're playing your best players 38 minutes a night, sometimes 40 minutes a night. And all that does is lead to injuries, which is a lesson he should have learned from coaching the league all these years and the number of players who have been hurt under his tutelage. I understand you want to push guys and you want them to work hard, but that's not gonna fly because their bodies are going to break down. We want to see these players out there every night, but it comes a time where you need to sub them out. The Knicks could be down 18 points and Brunson is still there. Cat is still in the game. Cat tweaked his ankle one time. Brunson's tweaked his ankle in a game that they couldn't win. So why are you pushing these guys in times when it doesn't matter? You built a great culture of toughness in New York. That's kind of what the city is. It's gritty. It's in your face. I love that. But I don't think that you're the coach that's going to get them to the finals. I don't think you're the coach that's going to make them win the finals. I think you were a great culture guy. But the goal here isn't to be competitive. This is New York City. The goal is to win a ring. That's it. It's been a long time. It hasn't happened in my lifetime. But as a person who was raised a Knicks fan, I want to see the team be successful. And to me, success is championships. Anything less doesn't matter. I grew up in the 90s watching the Yankees. I'm spoiled. So win a ring. Bring in a coach who can push them offensively and defensively. The Knicks have slipped on defense. Their offense is centered around Brunson. You got to get Cat the ball and let Brunson close. But if you wear on Brunson all game, that's when he starts missing free throws in the clutch. That's when the offense gets stagnant. So the Knicks have made great progress with Leon Rose. They made great progress with Tibbs. But I think we need a coaching change, and that's what's going to push us over the finish line. Cleveland Cavaliers. Are they legit? I believe so. But this team reminds me a bit of those Atlanta Hawks from 2014, 2015. That team went 60-22 in the regular season and then got bounced. And I'm scared that's going to be Cleveland. They play together. They play hard. They have one of the best offenses in the league. But can they win a ring with Donovan Mitchell? Can they win a ring with that backcourt that's a bit undersized? They have two of the more dynamic wing players and ball creators and shot creators and ball handlers, but I don't know if they can win. Evan Mobley wants to be compared to Wemby. He says he's as good as him. The playoffs is your chance to prove it, buddy. If you want to be put on that level, if you want to be a perennial all-star, you have to bring it in the playoffs. They fell a bit short last year. And what worries me is once you kind of lock up Mitchell and you try to contain him, who else is going to be there to create shots? Who else is going to be there to close games? The playoffs are different animals. And Mitchell is proven. We saw him in the bubble. We saw him last year. He could score 40. He could score 50. He scored 60. But are they good enough to win? That's the question. Phoenix Suns, Bradley Beal, the worst contract in NBA history, bar none. He's going to make $50 million a year over the next 3 years with a player option and a no trade clause. Listen, you're rich, baby. Spend that money because I'm happy for you and I'm happy that a black man got paid. But what you did to that franchise is crazy. If you wonder why Phoenix can't make a move, it's because all their money is tied up. They went all in on Bradley Beal. Now you're watching this. Do you think that makes sense based on his career? He hasn't been a winner. He hasn't been in a situation where he could really be successful. And now he's playing with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and it's still not working. And he doesn't deserve all the blame, but his contract deserves a lot of it. Bobo needs to leave. They don't know how to use him. He's one of the most dynamic players. He's 7 foot. He can dribble. He can shoot. He can pass. He can block shots. Something's not working there, and I think it may be the coaching staff and him don't get along. We've seen an increase in minutes because the fans are demanding it, but something has to change. But the big question is, how long are we going to wait until Kevin Durant ends up back in Oklahoma City? Because here's what should happen. Phoenix has to rebuild around Devin Booker. You need young players, rotational players, and you need draft picks. And who has those three things? OKC does. And what could OKC use? Another player who can create a shot and is unstoppable offensively and who's not a liability on defense. And who is the greatest plug-and-play option that we know of. The mercenary himself, Kevin Durant. What a story it would be if he can go back home to Oklahoma City and bring that city a ring. I couldn't write it better. Shakespeare couldn't write it better. If he can get back there and go back to the place that drafted him, I know it's not Seattle, but if he could go back there and win a ring, they'll forgive him for leaving. OKC is still home to him. They might hate him, they might have burned his jersey, but they love that guy. And if he can get back there and deliver, listen, that's one of the greatest stories in NBA history. So Phoenix, if you need me to facilitate the deal, you call me. But you better be on the phone with Sam Presti this summer because you guys aren't making the playoffs. And if OKC makes an early exit, they're going to make a move. They have too many chips to deal with. And eventually they have to go all in because you're going to have to pay all of these guys. And they better have learned their lesson from James Harden, Kevin Durant, Ibaka, and Westbrook. You had a chance to make a dynastic run, but a little bit of money stopped it. Don't make the same mistake twice. And finally, the MVP is SGA. And if you want to say Jokic, just go to the next video. SGA is having an all-time great season, okay? Historical. One of the best guard seasons ever. Comparable to Steph in 2016 and 2015. Comparable to Kobe's MVP year. Comparable to AI's MVP year. He's averaging 30 points per game with less than 2 turnovers. And the ball is in his hand every play. He has the best plus minus of any player since Steph Curry and Draymond Green in 2016. And that's the season they went 72-10. That tells you about the kind of dominance that he has when he's playing. He's also unguardable. If it's because of the refs, so what? It takes a great player to draw a foul. If your arm is here and he rips through, that's a foul. He's unguardable, and this is the most unguardable I've seen a player since Steph in 2016, where no matter what you do defensively, you can't stop him. He's in OKC, and he has aura. If you can make the Thunder a team that people are watching nightly to see what you guys are doing after the game, to see what your pregame outfit is, you're the most valuable player. You're the best player on the best team, and you have eyes on Oklahoma City for the basketball, for the interviews, and for the swag. Shai's the MVP. Maybe next year, Jokic. We're going to take a little break, and now we're going to get into college basketball. We'll talk March Madness on the men's side. We'll also delve in a little bit into the women's bracket and see what mistake they made. I got to represent, so I had to do a quick outfit change. Let's talk March Madness, but before we even get into the tournament, let's talk about the Red Storm, St. John's, Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino is the best turnaround coach in men's college basketball history. Let's go through some numbers real quick, and we're going to talk about the winning percentage change from year 1 with Pitino to year 2 with Pitino. Boston University, 23% increase in wins. Providence, 47% increase in wins. Kentucky, 57% increase in wins. Louisville, 31% increase in wins. Iona, 108% increase in wins. And last but not least, my Johnnies. 50% increase in wins from year 1 to year 2. And do you know what that means? When Pitino walks in the building, he is going to change the culture. He is going to tell guys the truth, the things that they don't want to hear. When I see him in the locker room, you know, you can watch this on Vice behind the scenes with St. John's this season. He holds every single player accountable. He holds Kadari accountable. He holds RJ accountable. The team's 2 best players. And when you make those guys accountable, everyone else will fall in line. We've got to this era in not just sports, but in life as a whole, where people are scared to tell the truth because everyone is so soft and sensitive. But Pitino is old school, for better or for worse. And it shows in the numbers that when you allow him to build culture in a program, he's going to make the difference. Now let's get into the tournament. I'm going to go through some teams you might want to watch and who I believe are going to make a deep run. And then I'll tell you teams you don't want to put in your bracket to make deep runs, and I really hope you're not gambling on these guys. Let's start with the Cinderella. Your Cinderella team this year is going to be High Point. Okay? High Point has one of the best offenses in the country. They have shooters all over the court. They can shoot from 3, they can shoot from 2, they can shoot from the free throw line. They have older players who are experienced, which is what you want in a tournament. Young teams always go out early. And they're one of the best rebounding teams in the country as well. So if you're looking for a team that's a lower seed who you might not know a lot about, because there's one team every year, whether it's St. Peter's or whether it was Fairleigh Dickinson who won a first round game a few years ago, High Point is a team this year. Florida has the best backcourt in college basketball, and they use a 3-guard lineup. But the guy who I want to focus on who's going to make this team so special in the tournament is Walter Clayton Jr. If you watch this guy play, it is so smooth. Step backs, turnaround, side steps, rip throughs, finishing at the rim, shooting from 3. He is a complete 3-level scorer who is NBA ready, and he's not a young player, he's experienced. Again, the thing that you want in the tournament. Florida is coming out of the SEC, which is the toughest conference this year, okay? Florida has beat Auburn, which is the overall #1 seed, which means they can play the tough teams and win. Florida is going to at least the Elite Eight, and I think the Final Four. Clemson. People like to rag on the ACC and say there's not a lot of talent there. Well, I beg to differ. Clemson is one of the most balanced teams when it comes to offensive and defensive efficiency. When you're in a tournament, you cannot rely on just one thing to win. If your offense isn't there, what can you do defensively to cause problems for other teams? They have a great front court and they have a great back court, and you want overall balance, okay? Clemson gave Duke a run for their money this year. This is a team that I believe, again, is going to make a deep run to at least the Sweet 16. Don't be shocked when the ACC performs well. Duke. When you have the best player on the floor, you are always in a position to win. And no matter who Duke matches up against, Cooper Flagg will be the best player on the floor. Duke has so much defensive intensity. You have 2 shot blockers in the front court. You got 3 wing defenders who have the length to stop dribble drives. And then on offense, Cooper Flagg is facilitating from a point forward style from the top of the key. You got shooters on the wing and you can finish at the rim. And when I say intensity, that means both sides of the ball. When I watched them play UNC, they had UNC so shook even when they played them at home at Chapel Hill. UNC was shook at home. Duke demolished them. It got close late, but that game was not close if you watch from start to finish. Duke is going to make a deep run. It's been a while since they've got to the Final Four, but you better believe this team is going to perform well. They're going to do way better than Zion's team did because they play together. Although they know Cooper's the best player, they do what it takes to win, and there's no ego. And John Shire's done a great job at this. They've removed ego to allow the players to be successful working together. Houston Cougars. I have loved this team for like 5 years, but they always fall short because of the offense. But this year is a bit different. They have guys who can score the ball better than they've had in the past 2 or 3 years. And that's why they're going to make a deeper run. Houston is always known for rebounding. Houston is always known for the full court press and a half court trap. They are going to cause teams problems. And when you can get teams out of their rhythm, the tournament will be easy for you. You just can't get caught up in late games and make those offensive mistakes and silly fouls. I like Houston this year. And St. John's. Talked about them earlier. Again, a team with a defensive presence that rivals any team in the country. They have a big backcourt. Kadari is not a little guy. Kadari's like 6'5", 6'6". They can play offense. They get to the free throw line. They attack. The only thing that worries me is if they start settling for 3-pointers. If they start settling for threes, it could get a little shaky. They're not a great jump shooting team. But if you attack the rim, if you defend, and if you listen to Pitino, you guys can make history for the school. This is my alma mater, man, so I'm biased. So I'm praying, but I'm also confident that they're going to make a deep run. They might face Kansas in the second round or Arkansas. I think they're going to get both of those teams out of here, no matter who they play. And that's an old school matchup. It might be Pitino versus Bill Self. It might be Pitino versus, It might be Pitino versus Calipari. But I like Pitino in this. I think he just has the edge this year. And who are some teams you shouldn't bet on? Don't put your money on these guys in March Madness. I'm not going to give you some sort of analytical, according to this chart, this team is weak. I just watch a lot of college basketball. UCLA, very inconsistent. Gonzaga, normally they dominate the conference, but not this year. I don't like them. And they're always, around a 32 or a Sweet 16 exit anyway. And Iowa State. They started really, really strong this year, but they've kind of been faltering, so I don't like them. So they might be high seeds and they might be schools that, hey, they have that name and that credibility, but this year it's not in the cards for them. So please don't put your money on those teams. And what about the women's side of the bracket? The NCAA fumbled again. You have Paige from UConn and Juju from USC on a trajectory to meet in the Elite Eight. Why? These should be the teams that are going to match up in the final or at least in the Final Four. This is the biggest box office draw. You made the same mistake last year when you had Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese match up in the Elite Eight. You have to think. You have to think. You want all eyes on the game. Caitlin Clark shattered the records last year. You're not going to meet that number this year, but you don't want to fall off too far because you need to sell ads. And what players are more marketable than Paige and Juju? Juju has the bun. Everybody wants to see it. I saw her in a commercial on my way here in the supermarket dribbling the ball. Juju is offensively gifted, defensively stout, and she is a showman. She's the best show in women's college basketball. And you got Paige, who has been on the red carpet all year. Paige is a celebrity on TikTok. That's your draw. And we need to talk about the basketball. She could dribble, she could shoot, she could pass with anybody. So why do you not want these two teams and these two players matching up on the biggest stage? It just doesn't make sense. Shaq has raised a good question. Is Steph Curry in the GOAT conversation? Unequivocally, yes. Now, whenever we talk about the GOAT, we need to break down categories, and I'll go through my 5. You got resume, skill set, what did they do for their particular franchise, because loyalty matters to me, legacy, longevity, and impact. And then, how do they measure up to their contemporaries? So if we're talking about Steph Curry, let's go through the resume. 4-time champion, 2-time MVP, the only unanimous MVP ever. He's an all-time three-point leader, gold medalist, 2-time scoring title, clutch player of the year, Western Conference Finals MVP, 2-time All-Star MVP. And when you put that resume against anybody, when we talk about guys who have scoring titles and 4 rings to match, it's only 2 other guys who go there. It's Michael Jordan and it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. When you talk about people with 4 rings who were the best player on their team, right? Maybe not every year, but certainly more than one. We're talking about MJ, Kobe, Kareem. That's it. You could throw Duncan in there if you want, but he's in the combo. And whenever you have this conversation, there's 2 names we always hear. It's going to be Jordan and it's going to be LeBron, but Steph matches up. Now let's talk about the skill set. Yeah, the best shooter ever. But we have to stop pigeonholing him to that because he does more than just shoot the ball really well. When you talk about offensive handles, top 3 ever. Him, Kyrie, AI, maybe you want to throw Jamal Crawford, he's top 3. When we talk about elite finishing at the rim, it might not be as pretty as Kyrie, who I think is the best finisher at the rim, but he's right next to Kyrie. In fact, his field goal percentage at the rim is comparable only to really Wilt Chamberlain because he's that good of a finisher. When you talk about passing the ball, he's averaging 6 and sometimes 7 assists, depending on the year we go to. He's one of the best passers ever. He could turn it over a bit, but what player doesn't when the ball's in your hand when it matters? Steph has a complete game. The only place where people can nitpick is, you could say defensively, but he's not even a weak defender anymore. I could go through game-saving defensive plays. He's done it in the playoffs, he did it in the finals, and he does it in the regular season. And now we talk about what he did for the Golden State Warriors. What did he do for that franchise that was in despair before he got there? In 2009, the Golden State Warriors were worth $315 million. You know what they're worth today? Let's try $9 billion. The most valuable NBA franchise. So when he got there, they're ranked at the bottom of the league. And when he will retire, they'll be the most valuable team. He will have built them a new stadium, and he's going to be responsible for a bunch of statues outside that guy's building. No player has gotten better when they left the Warriors. Jordan Poole is not better. Andrew Wiggins is not better. Clay is not better. KD is not better. All of these guys played their best basketball when they were next to Steph because he makes his teammates better. It's not just about him. That is something that needs to be considered when you talk about the greatest player. What do you do for others? And then when they're not next to you, how do they perform? And now let's talk legacy, longevity, and impact. Comes into the NBA undersized, doubted, and injury prone, and he's gonna leave as one of the greatest players ever. That's his story. From a guy everyone doubted to a guy that everyone believes in. He supports women basketball. He's changing the game for women and men and for children. You walk in any gym, go see how they play the game. How many players can you say walked on an NBA court and have changed the way the entire game is played? Maybe 1 or 2 other guys, but that's Steph. How does he measure up to his contemporaries? Let's go through his record against these guys in the playoffs. Kyrie Irving, who people like to compare to him, I don't know why, 8-5 against him, dominates the matchup. James Harden, 14-6 against him, dominates the matchup. LeBron James, the other guy in the GOAT conversation. Steph is 17-11 against LeBron in the playoffs, dominates the matchup. Here's another guy they like to compare to Steph. Damian Lillard, 10-0. 10-0 against Damian Lillard. Steph has everything that it takes to be one of the greatest players of all time. But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't talk about himself. So I got to do the talking for him. That's my guy. I got to big him up, because if he doesn't big himself up, it's on the fans to do it. He has the rings. He has the longevity at 37 years old to still be putting up 30 points a game and still be making deep playoff runs. The resume, and he has the accolades, and he has the social skill, and he has the social drive of a fan base that's gonna put him up there. Is he the GOAT? MJ's my GOAT, but is he in that conversation? You better believe it. He's there. You don't have to acknowledge it now, but when he hangs it up and 30 is in the rafters, he will go down as one of the greatest players ever. Top 5, top 3, dead or alive. All right, that's enough sports talk. We could get into some music. It's a lot going on. We could talk some pop culture stuff. Let's get started with Drake. We talking about Nokia. It's a hit. You don't have to like it. There's a select fan base that doesn't like it, but there's no denying it's a hit. Now number 6 on the Billboard chart is trending upwards. If you saw what Drake posted yesterday, he posted the cell phone. They're filming that video. That song is gonna continue to go. I'm happy that he released it. I'm happy it's in his pocket. Okay? TikTok is going crazy over it. You might hear it on the radio, you might not. And we know why that is. But there's no denying that this song is a hit. I haven't been in the club. I'm a little too old for that right now. But I do watch Instagram and I see what people are dancing to and I see what's getting the party going. And it's Nokia. We not squabbling up. It's Nokia. We also have an update from the UMG lawsuit with Drake. So here's what's going on. Of course, UMG is going to move for a dismissal. What did you expect? So when that news dropped, people are celebrating. Yeah. See, they're gonna move for dismissal. Duh. Why would this company not want to dismiss a case before it gets to discovery? So if you read through the document, which is available if you check the OVO docket page on Twitter, they tried to use Drake's lyric against him on Successful. Diss me and you never hear a reply for it. They also said that Drake egged on a beef, that he asked for it and now he's being a sore loser. And as I'm reading these documents, they're not reading like court documents that a lawyer wrote. It's reading like a Twitter timeline, because it's like they're trying, to scathe him or burn him or say, yeah, we got you. People are laughing at you. But it wasn't really about the legality of the issue. It wasn't really about, people slandering his name and calling him something that he says that he's not. So I don't think this case is going to be dismissed. But here's the dangerous thing. If this goes to discovery, it's going to peel back the layers that the music industry has and all the ways that they can control an artist and what songs become relevant and which ones don't. It can really show the influence that they have, which might not be legal and which might be stopping other artists from blowing up. So while Drake's reason for suing might be a selfish reason, what can be revealed in this case could truly be selfless, because it can reveal and show artists what's really going on behind the scenes. So I don't think UMG wants us to go to discovery. If the dismissal doesn't get approved and it just says, no, we still want to hear more, and this case is going to go through, it could get very ugly. So I think that this is going to settle long before we get to discovery. We'll get another update, I believe, later on in the month and again earlier in April. And Drake's lawyers have already responded and said that UMG is not responding to the claims. So I don't know. It'll get interesting. I got no horse in this race. I just want to see what the outcome will be. I've been reflecting on something, and the more that I see of this person, the more I think we all need a friend, a brother, or a family member like Black Sam. The way that Black Sam is looking after Nipsey's legacy is just commendable. Here's what he's done since Nipsey's passing. The Neighborhood Nip Foundation continues to give back to the inner city of Crenshaw and the whole Los Angeles area. He has an unreleased documentary coming out about Nipsey and continues to work on Nipsey's posthumous album release. The Marathon clothing line continues to be a brand that is selling all the time. And last but not least, Marathon Burger, which opened up in March of this year. And if you watch the opening of Marathon Burger, it got a little chaotic because Sam pressed an issue. Someone was there and that person might have been saying something about Nipsey or around someone who was saying something about Nipsey, and they didn't speak up in his honor. And Sam pressed that issue because the only thing that you have after life is family and your name. And Sam will not let anyone disrespect Nipsey, and that is so honorable because that's his little brother. And everything that Nipsey stood for while he was here, Sam is making sure his legacy stands for that after he's gone. So watching that as someone who's, a father, someone who has an older brother, someone who has close family members, and my friends who I consider my brothers, that's what I would want them to do for me if I wasn't here. Defend my name and defend my legacy against anyone who would ever try to disgrace it. So Sam is a shrewd businessman. He was a lot of the front money for Nipsey when he came up. Sam was a big brother who always protected Nipsey in a number of situations that you can research for yourself. But salute to Black Sam, and I hope everyone in the world has a friend or a brother like him. Let's segue to Kendrick Lamar. This week I've seen a couple people call him out for being a hypocrite, some other media platforms. And this is something that I've touched on before. When it comes to Kendrick, the way that he morally places himself on a high ground is a little dangerous because you're in the music industry. And you have to work with people who might not be on the same moral level that you are, like Kodak Black and like Playboi Carti. But the fans here won't allow Kendrick to do anything wrong. If he does things that go against who he's presenting himself to be, they'll say, oh, you just don't get it, or this is the duality of it. But I don't buy that. It's okay to be selfish because you want to be successful as a rapper. But you also say that you want to watch the party die. But do you realize that you're inside the party? And you might be the center of attention? Do you think that you could become the #1 rapper in the world, which you are right now, and not have to play in these rooms and not have to collaborate with these artists? It doesn't work like that. He's playing the same game that he ripped Drake for. The same person that you critiqued, you are now becoming. I don't know, man. I like Kendrick, I like his music, but the crown is heavy, and are you prepared to wear it? Let's talk a little bit about Nicki Minaj. And the reason why I want to talk about Nicki is because we have a problem in hip hop. We don't allow our legends to grow and age gracefully. We focus too much on hate and not enough on love. Why are we not celebrating Nicki? Let's run through her resume. She's been in the game for more than 16 years. 12 Grammy nominations, 9 VMA awards, 12 BET awards. Most Billboard Hot 100 entries for a female artist. Over 100 million records sold. 3 #1 albums. And there's been no female rapper who has lasted this long. But for some reason, when you log onto Twitter, all you see is people try to tear her name down. Why don't we allow our artists to just be who they are? When you look at rock and roll, those people tour to they're 60, 70 years old and the fans come out and support them. Why don't we do that in hip hop? Why don't we let legends be legends? Celebrate her because her resume is above all. Her resume is comparable to the best rappers of all time, to the Kanye West, who she's been on a track for and went bar for bar. Hove, she's been on a track with and went bar for bar. Drake, Wayne, you name it. She has never fell short. Celebrate it. Embrace it instead of hating on it. New York drill is the worst thing that happened to the music scene in New York. There's a lot of reasons why, but we could just start here. It's murder music. This is very different than gangster rap. This is very different than any kind of thug rap that we ever saw out of New York. This is strictly murder and not about art. It's destroyed young people's lives, and much younger than we ever looked at in hip hop. We're talking about kids who are 13 years old, 14 years old, and sometimes even 12. Let's talk about the gang indictments. YGs, OGs, Sevside, OY, Drilly. That's just to name a few. How many young people's lives were ruined because of this specific genre of music? And it's not even a New York thing. That's not New York music. What Bobby and them doing wasn't drill. That was just rap. But what it turned into is something unrecognizable. And it's outside of the music. It's in the way that these kids carry themselves. Why are you walking around with a shiesty mask in the summer? Where are you going? It stinks. New York is known for getting fly. That's not fly, baby. That's not drip. It looks terrible. And you look like you're gonna do something to somebody. So what does that create? If you're walking down the street and you feel like someone's gonna do something to you, you might do something worse. So it's breeding this constant cycle of violence because people are playing the part because they think it's cool. Even if you're not in that scene, even if you're not in the streets, but you dress like it because we imitate street culture and streetwear, you could be dragged into something that you don't want to be. Sure, some people have gotten rich off of this type of music. Yes, some people made money. But does that little bit of money outweigh the number of lives that were lost? Does that little bit of money outweigh people that we're never gonna see again because they're never coming home? It doesn't. Leave that drill rap in Chicago. New York is known for getting fly. New York is known for dancing. New York is known for lyrics. And the combination of all those things is what makes the city so special. You could make it out the hood without rapping about killing somebody or your desire to kill somebody. Drill music is demonic. Is the beat catchy? Yeah. Do I find myself rapping to it sometimes? Yeah. But then I gotta get back to reality. That music is not good. It's not good content, and it's not good spiritually. You can make rap music as a young person and get out the hood, and it doesn't have to be about killing somebody who looks just like you. And now let's talk Playboy Cardi. Number one, don't call me Unc in the comments because I saw y'all did that from my last video. I'm not your uncle. I might be big bro. You might steal my clothes when you want to get fly, but I'm not your uncle. I'm not going to hate on Cardi right now. I'm going to celebrate him because he deserves to be celebrated. He's a black man doing his thing. But I'm not going to celebrate him for the music because it's not my kind of music, but I'm going to celebrate him for the business acumen when it comes to marketing. It's been 5 years since the last album. He did pre-sales. He did physicals. He did bundles. He did collaborations. He went on Aiden Ross, didn't say a word, had a mask on. But that's marketing because people waited hours to see him and then they didn't see him. He didn't appear on Kai Cenat's stream. He called him. People didn't see him. In fact, I really don't know what he looks like because you can't see him. And that mystery that he creates that leaves people wanting more is why he's so successful. He's projected to do 250,000 first week album sales. Salute. That is a big deal for an artist to do that. If you saw him on Rolling Loud yesterday, the crowd went crazy. He had Kai on stage. He knew who to call. He's with Gio. She's by his side. One of the best influencers in the game right now. You might not like the music, but you gotta respect the business. All right, let's go to a topic from the phone. So I'm in, my group chat with my friends from college, and the question they were talking about is, who knows you the best in the world? Some people said my wife, some people said my dad, some people said, my brother. And I said, you guys are all wrong. You know who knows you the best? Your phone. Your phone knows everything that you want no one else to know. The algorithm knows what videos you want to watch. The algorithm knows which curse word you like to use and which emojis you like to use. Your algorithm can predict what you're thinking and what you're going to think about next. You see how dangerous that is? Think about where we are as a society, where the people we might spend every moment with don't know us as well as this piece of technology. Pretty dangerous. And now let's go to how brave it is for all the people in the media out there, all the creators, all the people on TikTok and on Instagram. It is one of the most brave things to go out in front of the world and put your opinion out there for people to see. It's hard to do because no matter what you say, there's going to be someone who tells you you're wrong. You could say the sky is blue. Someone tell you that's not true. And they might start talking about your moms. You have to really have thick skin to do this. So, this is episode 1. I've been on the TikTok for a couple of months posting my content, on Instagram posting content, and I've got nothing but love. But you do get hate every now and then, but you got to push through the hate. So for everyone who's been creating content, who's put out a podcast, who's puts out posts, whatever you do, the fact that you're doing it makes you brave and makes you a leader. So I hope that you guys tune into episode 2. We're going to wrap episode 1 right now. I hope that you enjoyed the chat. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, reshare, whatever it is. And always leave a comment. Let me know what I could do better. Let me know what you want to hear about and what topics you want me to go over, whether it's sports or music. And until next time, Roebuck signing off, baby.